Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC on ESPN Plus, Covington versus Lawler. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the light heavyweight division, Darko Stosic versus Kennedy Nzechuwku, or Nzechuwku. So looking at this fight, Nzechuwku's coming off, I guess, his first loss in the UFC. I don't think it's his first loss in his career, but definitely his first loss in the UFC. I think it was his debut in the UFC after coming off a successful Contender Series fight or whatever. But he coming off a loss, showed a lot of flaws, showed a lot of greenness in that fight. But coming to this fight, I think the good thing about this fight, or the upside to this fight, is I think it's a bit like a good stylistic matchup for him coming off a loss. I'm not saying this it's a good fight for him to have coming off a loss, or it's good to lose, but it's a good fight, a good rebound fight in a way. Darko Stosic is coming off a loss to, I forget the guy name right now, but the light-skinned wrestler guy. But yeah, that's besides the point. But look at the style. Let's get to the style. Darko Stosic isn't really the most technical fighter. He's fair and decent like everywhere, but he's not super solid everywhere. I say more so he's just a physical, imposing fighter. Like he's a powerhouse. Not really all that explosive. He does got some power, some punches, but he's more so just a physical type fighter. Not no real amazing grappling, not no real technical striking. He just a muscle bound juice head. Basically, that's what I'm calling him. It might be insulting, but the truth is the truth. If he was a little bit more technical, he would be much further than he is right now. But he's not really that much of a technical fighter, and he's a kind of a shorter, stockier fighter. I'm not saying he's super short, but it's kind of his style and not really using his range because it's not really the most technique behind his stuff. He can't really cover the distance that well. And with Nzechuwku's 82, 83-inch reach and being 6'4", 6'5", I think it'll be an issue for him to deal with because he can't really cover all that distance. He's not no amazing wrestler, so he can't make the cage very small with some solid technical striking, some solid cage cutting off, some solid wrestling pressure. He can't do that. He's going to be at the end of Nzechuwku's punches, at the end of Nzechuwku's range a lot in this fight. I think Nzechuwku can really exploit that range and that gap in this fight with that short, stocky, or that shorter or wider built fighter who's not really explosive, that really technical, and can just really pick him apart on the feet with the striking. And I think he wins the decision in this one. So in this fight, I got Kennedy Nzechuwku via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Scott Holtzman versus Hyun Ma. So look at this fight. This is straight, it's pretty much straight clear cut. Hyun Ma he's a warrior, he's a fighter. I'm not saying he has the best chin, but he has a lot of heart, and he does have a hard head. He'll take some punches, he'll get dropped, he'll get back up, he'll swing hard shots, and he might not be, I'm not saying he's just a brawler, he does have some technique to his strike. He's not just a scrub. He has solid technique. It's just not super high caliber. You can't say, oh, this guy is a technical fighter. He has some techniques to him, but more so he kind of falls into the brawler type of aspect, the heart and blood and guts type of warrior type fighter. And in this fight, I think Scott Holtzman is just the much more experienced fighter, the more technical fighter, the faster fighter. I think he can catch him over the top because Hyun Ma likes to use that chin as what's called a shield, or to catch punches on that chin a lot. And Scott Holtzman has a solid footwork, he has experience, he has speed, he has the boxing ability to cut angles, come over the top, and catch Hyun Ma very often and frequent in this fight. I don't think he's going to stop Hyun Ma, but I think he's able to hurt him at several times, gain the respect, use his footwork, and really just outpoint and outwork Hyun Ma in this fight, outsmart him as well. So in this fight, I got Scott Holtzman via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Giles versus Meerschaert. So looking at this fight, Giles I was pretty high on. Well, not super high, but I was giving him a lot of respect up until his last fight in which he lost. I think it was like his striking looked pretty clean, but then like you saw as he get tired, he was able to get hit easier. I think he was dropped in that fight, was submitted. So you saw like when he's fresh, he's very dangerous, but as he starts to slow down, those low hands, like pretty much those bad habits of his, become apparent as he starts to slow down, and they can be exploited. So he's a solid fighter. I think he still can have a great career, but he certainly needs a lot more time to improve on those skills, make some adjustments. And I think he can make those adjustments, but I don't think it's going to happen just in one fight. I think Meerschaert is similar to the opponent he lost to last, not too similar, but I think he definitely, I might say he's a better grappler than the last person he fought. But striking-wise, he's not as good of a striker as the last person he fought. So there's differences to it, and Giles can certainly find avenues to find victory in this fight, and I think he can, especially if he made improvements to his striking, improvements to his fight IQ, improvements into his ring awareness. I think he can certainly change the whole course of this fight. But I think more so Meerschaert. Oh, and another thing, Giles is really not a super power puncher either. So I think Meerschaert can take his take his shots, pressure, eventually get it to the ground, and where he'll have a huge advantage. And I think he's able to submit him. I think he's going to pressure him, start to take some shots, then give some shots, hurt Giles, get him down, work him on the ground. I think he's able to submit him in the second round. So in this fight, I got Meerschaert via second round submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Joaquim Silva versus Nzechuwku Haqparast. So look at this fight. Joaquim Silva is a solid fighter, solid jiu-jitsu, some heavy hands. Not the most technical striker, but he does have some solid technique on the feet. Where he excels is on the ground. You got Nzechuwku Haqparast, who's a solid striker, solid all-around, well-rounded MMA fighter. I think he's a younger fighter. He fights at a very high pace. And Joaquim Silva's pace is really not the highest pace. I think in his fight against Gordon, his last fight, which he won, he was kind of losing his fight. Gordon was outworking him. Then he was able to catch him and finish him. I think that's not going to happen with Nzechuwku Haqparast. Haqparast has a much better chin. He's a harder pressuring fighter. I think he can push a higher pace than Gordon was. And he can take the shots that Gordon couldn't. I think he could challenge him in more areas. Well, maybe not more areas, because Gordon's very solid on the ground. I don't know if Haqparast's jiu-jitsu was up to that par. But I think more so physically wise, I think Haqparast is a much stronger fighter than Gordon is. Then he's on the feet, he throws way more volume. He's, like I said, the physical aspect and the pace and that cardio and that work rate. I think that's going to be the real tell of the tape of this fight. I mean, or the real how this fight's going to play out, in my opinion. I think it's going to be Haqparast, if it goes to the ground, being able to scramble when needed, and on the feet, just outworking Joaquim Silva. So in this fight, I got Nzechuwku Haqparast via decision. Now on to our co-main event we have in the lightweight division, Jim Miller versus Clay Guida. So this is a fight between two certified vets, been in the game for a long, long time, been in the UFC for a long, long time. So looking at this fight, you got Jim Miller, solid jiu-jitsu, solid boxing, solid elbows, just solid, just straight up solid. Clay Guida, solid wrestler, probably one of the best gas tanks of all time in MMA, maybe even the best of all time. I've never seen that man tired. Phenomenal gas tank, even at his age, he is now with late 30s, phenomenal cardio. Still never seen him tired. Not really a power puncher, but he did start to develop some power. More so pretty much a workman versus Jim Miller, who's more of a finisher. So if I see fighting, Jim Miller is certainly the better striker between the two, in my opinion. I think Jim Miller is the more solid striker. Clay Guida is more about volume, being in your face, being difficult, making you work. Jim Miller is more about pressure, landing sharp shots, make you feel it, make you hurt, make you get out of your game, make mistakes, then taking advantage of those. So whereas Clay Guida is more about work. I think Jim Miller can land the cleaner shots with his cleaner boxing, land elbows, cut Clay Guida up. I think Clay Guida will be the better wrestler, but I don't think he can really implement it too much against Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller can shut down his wrestling, but I don't think Clay Guida can really shut down Jim Miller's grappling or his BJJ. So I see this fight being competitive. But I think Jim Miller's cleaner boxing technique is going to shine on the feet. And I think on the grappling aspect, I think Jim Miller's the better there. I think he cuts him up on the feet, busts him up on the feet, and like I said, it's going to be competitive, but Jim Miller's going to be landing the cleaner, effective shots. That's going to be wearing and tearing on Clay Guida more so than what Clay Guida is landing on Miller. I think he gets he gets Guida to shoot a shot, and he is able to snap on the guillotine and get him out of there late in the second. So in this fight, I got Jim Miller via second round submission. Now on to our main event we have in the welterweight division, Colby Covington versus Robbie Lawler. So this fight is the former interim champion, Colby Covington, versus the former undisputed welterweight champion, Robbie Lawler. Two former ATT, American Top Team products. Well, Colby Covington's still there, been there from the jump of his career. And Robbie Lawler, I think Robbie Lawler jumped all around. He was Militich, this, was that, and was an ATT for a good number of years, and that's during his championship years. And now, I forget where he's at now. I think he's in some other gym that just more caters to him or whatever cases. Two former training partners, basically. I think what Colby Covington said about him was actually kind of true. He said they trained together and pretty much he would beat up Robbie Lawler and sparring all the time. And I could see that happening. Like with his wrestling ability, Robbie Lawler might be seen as this anti-wrestler, but I don't think he's like all like a necessarily shut down wrestler. Like he more so could defend takedowns, be cool on the ground, then find opportunities when a wrestler starts to slow down to people. Like, he's not like a guy that's going to just completely shut down, take down the fence and like hold somebody to like 0-15 on shots. He's not that shut down type of anti-wrestler. He's more of a guy that's going to give up a couple shots, might be able to scramble back to his feet, might be able to hit you from a neutral position on the ground, but he's not the guy that's going to necessarily shut down grappling. So Colby Covington with his relentless, and also Colby Covington's not a guy that's going to shoot 1 or 2 or 3 shots and get gas. He's going to constantly keep shooting, constantly keep going for shots the whole time. So really, Robbie Lawler has no answer to that style of wrestler. He can try to time a flying knee, time an uppercut or something right there, but that relentless pressure more is going to overthrow or overcome or bypass what Robbie Lawler's type of wrestling defense is or how he fights wrestlers. And Colby Covington, unlike Ben Askren, he is a full-rounded MMA fighter. His striking might be nothing to write home about necessarily, but he has shown the ability to drop fighters. He has shown the ability to strike for long periods of time. He's not just some oh, I'm just going to go for your leg and like sniff your nuts type of wrestler. He will do that, but he will strike with you if he needs to. And I think he can do that against Robbie Lawler. Might not be smart, but he will have to step into that fire at sometimes in this fight. And I think he has the ability to do that against Robbie Lawler. Yes, Robbie Lawler has that power. He's unpredictable, and that's kind of a scary thing about it. But the wrestling of Covington is more consistent than a knockout from Robbie Lawler, or this, especially at this age in his career, and he really hasn't finished nobody in a good number of years. I think it's been like 5 years since he actually finished anybody. So that favors Covington. The pace of Covington favors him as well. The wrestling ability of Covington favors him. I just got to worry about the striking. I think Colby Covington is able to get in on inside pressure, maybe not necessarily hurt Robbie Lawler on the feet, but get him to respect the striking, tag him with something, make him think about it, go for shots, wall and stall him, hold him against his cage, and fight a very grindy, gritty fight. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. Robbie Lawler is certainly not going to try to just be on his back the whole time or just be in some bad positions. He's going to be fighting, but Colby Covington is relentless, and I think he can push that pace throughout, where Robbie Lawler, when he fights long round, I think the 5 rounds could either be a good thing or a bad thing for Robbie Lawler. It could be a good thing for the fact that maybe he can fight a smart strategy and then become with the championship round Robbie Lawler and then turn it up in the 4th and 5th round after kind of enduring those first 3 rounds. Or it could be a bad thing where he sees that it's a 5-round fight and he kind of just lays off too much, and that allows Colby Covington to get too much momentum that Robbie Lawler can't turn back around. If it was a 3-round fight, maybe it'd be a good thing that Robbie Lawler would come out aggressive, or it could be a bad thing because Robbie Lawler would come out too aggressive and get taken down easily. But I think it's more so at some point in this fight, I think Robbie Lawler will get too passive, and that's going to allow Colby Covington to be even more successful with his wrestling, even more successful with his pace and just that grind. But all in all, to get to the point, I just think Colby Covington's going to be able to grind this decision out. I think the first round might be a couple rounds in the first 2. Then maybe in that final round, Robbie Lawler. But overall, I think it's going to be Colby Covington's wrestling and pace and his pressure winning him this decision. So in this fight, I got Colby Covington via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Covington versus Lawler. And as always, thanks for watching.